The views, information, and opinions expressed during the following program are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent the views of Access Communications, its representatives, or its employees.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Regular meeting of Weyburn City Council held in the council chambers at 6 p.m. Monday, January 10th, 2022. First thing we're going to do is we're going to have this is our first meeting here, I should like to say, where we're starting at 6 p.m. Tonight, before we start, I'd like to introduce Nicola Erasmus. She's our youth council over here. She is not the youth mayor, but she's a part of the youth council. She is sitting here to join in tonight with us, and so we welcome our new deputy chief, who is acting chief here right now, too, that is with us tonight, some of the newer people that are here tonight. We are going to start off by the approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting and strategic planning priorities meeting held December 13th, 2021. Could I have a motion, please?
I so move, Your Worship.
Second?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
All in favor? Carried unanimously. Additions to the agenda. City Administrator?
Thank you, Your Worship. There's no additions from administration tonight.
Council? Seeing none, we move forward. There's no public hearings and notices, no delegations, proclamations, or petitions. Reports of standing committees. Mr. Van Betju, Police Commission.
Thank you, Your Worship. A regular meeting of the Weyburn Police Board of Commissioners was held in the Administrative Boardroom 4 p.m. Tuesday, December 21st. There were no additions to the agenda and no correspondence. Chief Blunden presented the Mayor's report for November 2021, which included the WPS monthly stats, the WPS 6-year average, charges for November, medical health assist calls, overtime report, and year versus year overtime reports. Chief Blunden commented that the crimes are down substantially in comparison for 2020, with a few notable higher than normal crime areas. The canine handler has been chosen and Constable McSherry has been awarded this position. Chief Blunden advised he was asked by City Council to review the proposed 2022 budget for efficiencies and possible reductions. Therefore, the $43,000 purchase of the Glocks will be an internal loan, and so the $43,000 was removed and replaced with a $10,000 repayment, and this repayment will be over 5 years. Chairman McCormick inquired if naloxone calls are increasing or decreasing. Chief Blunden stated they're running at approximately 2 to 3 per month, and that seems to be the average. Councillor Richards inquired of the cost, and Chief Blunden advised naloxone is costing the police approximately $1,200 per year, and each dose is approximately $60. Barclay inquired what training is happening next year, and the Chief advisor will be an 8-day course on leadership for all corporals, the deputy, and the office manager. There will also be training provided on the new Glock pistols to be purchased in 2 workshops on mental health. The accounts payable report for November 2021 was provided. Chief Blunden provided a budget report ending November 30th, 2021, showing a budget overage of $237,602, but added there is still outstanding grant funding in the amount of $155,845, putting the overage at $81,757 as of November 30th. The board was provided with the bylaw report for November 2021. Councillor Richards inquired if the bylaw officer enforces home occupations. As council has mentioned, the home occupation should be included in enforcement. Chief Blunden advised if there has been a problem with a business operating illegally, the police and bylaw officer have dealt with this in the past. Councillor Richard advised the chief that the council received a petition about truck traffic and noise at the intersection of Government Road and First Avenue North. Chief Blunden advised he will add it to the future patrol high visibility surveillance area to watch for engine retarder brakes being used in the city, as this is prohibited under the traffic bylaw. Moved by Mayor Roy, seconded by Barclay, that the Weyburn Police Commission requested City Administration and City Council review and amend bylaws to include language in a bylaw prohibiting profanity on signage. Reports were moved and accepted as presented. The commission moved in camera at 4:47 and back out of camera at 5:34. The meeting was adjourned. And I would also like to thank Don Eamon, who has tendered his resignation to the Board of Police Commission, but he has given us 7 years of commitment to the Police Commission. His knowledge of human resources and board governance was a big help in the Police Commission, and again, we thank him for those 7 years.
Comments? I have just one. Jen, going to engineering. Did the chief happen to, or anybody talk to you about the signage there, profanity about the signages on there?
About the signage on the profane.
Yeah. To look at changing the bylaw, or addressing a change in the bylaw to saying that that's not allowed.
Actually, Your Worship, I spoke to our development officer. That's kind of in her purview.
I didn't know which
So I have talked to the development officer, and we don't believe there's anything currently in the zoning bylaw or the sign bylaw, but it is something that she's investigating, and she will, she's actually just contacting some other cities to see if there's any wording in any of their bylaws.
And how we can do it to add to our bylaws.
Yeah, and we're just kind of working on that right now.
Okay. Cool. Anything else to address? No? Going forward, then that will be, the report will be filed, and go from there. Consent agenda, the water treatment plant report and the public works report. Do I have a motion to accept? Go ahead.
Your Worship, I'd like to make the motion that the items on the consent agenda be accepted as presented, the water treatment plant report for December and the public works report, both for December.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Comments on any of that? Those all in favor? Carried unanimously. Moving forward. Motions, accounts payable. Do you have a motion, please?
Sorry. Thanks, Your Worship. I make a motion that purchases in the amount of $1,082,773.50 from December 10th to January 6th be passed for payment.
Your Worship, I'll second that motion.
Comments? It's hearing none. All in favor? Carried unanimously. 2022 board and committee appointments. Do we have a motion here? Or do you want, these are the ones up here. Did you want to speak to it? Anybody? No? Do we have a motion, please?
I have a motion, Your Worship, you bet. I move that the list of individuals on the document provided be and are hereby appointed to the boards and committees on behalf of the city of Weyburn for the year of 2022.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Okay, the one point I want to make about this, people have approached me and talked to me about committees and that, and in the past, there seems to have been this misconception that it was mayor's choice only on these committees. These are committees that are decided as a council as a whole on that, although some of the decisions were not totally unanimous along the way. There was dissension on a few of the picks of there. So these are what the council as a whole has decided on, and thus this is what is moving forward with onto this. As I said, again, this is not mayor's picks only, this is council as a whole. A lot of the bylaws have been switched around for that. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd just like to, maybe the dissension might not be the correct word. I think maybe it was just voted on by council and the majority was
Well, there's opposing votes or whatever, or they call it referred to as dissenting votes. So onto there. So anyway, there was not the long and the short of it, this is what the final decision on the votes. So call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. And so these are the new ones onto here. Do we still have some vacancies, Danette?
There is some vacancies on the Environment Committee. I believe that's the only one I have some vacancies on, yes.
Andrew, I was just going to say, Andrew, you're full slate on yours, on that? Because that was always one that you had a couple people that had changed around, I think, on that.
Yeah, no, we are a full committee right now, yeah.
Full committee, okay. All right, so if any, and that is to be noted, I guess, to the media, that if anybody is interested, please ask anybody interested in the Environment Committee to move forward, to come put their name forward to our city clerk. And from there, we'll get you going on the Environmental Committee. We appreciate that. Anybody that's looking forward to trying to get into civil politics. Moving forward, there's no introduction of bylaws, no unfinished business, new business, business presentations. Director of Finance, Ms. Howe.
Good evening. So I am going to present on the 2022 budget. So this is our operating, our capital, and it also includes our utility budgets. So the budget approach hasn't changed. It's the same as prior years. It's to balance the City of Weyburn's ratepayers' interests with continued growth and prosperity, to provide a budget that enables growth and balances the department's requests to continue to provide a high level of service and programs, to ensure sustainability today as well as into the future, to take into consideration the infrastructure gap, and set out short and long-term plans addressing the maintenance and replacement of major capital, to maintain tax policies that keep Weyburn competitive with other Saskatchewan cities. So the general operations of the city are funded primarily through grant and tax revenue. There is a few user fees within our general operations, and the utility operations and functions of the city, they are funded through user fees. So this would be the utility billing, landfill fees, et cetera, and through capital grants that they receive. So just to recap on last year, so some of our highlights from 2021. Within administration, it was a tax assessment revaluation year, so we did see quite a few appeals and changes to our the taxes coming in. Within police, they established their agreement to their collective, or established their collective agreement from 2021 to 2023. Fire, they made a few capital purchases, some extrication equipment, which is a yearly process, new pagers, and some rope rescue equipment. Leisure, they had the grand opening of the Credit Union Spark Center in October. And as well, they had, so obviously with COVID, there's many restrictions, and they had some reopening and some new programming occur. Within facilities, the fleet storage facility became fully operational in July. That is located in the Public Works Yard. And with that, they had the demolition of the roundhouse in the Public Works Yard. That was the former fleet storage building. Parks, they had some new dugouts at Jubilee. Pathways paved on the Redcoat Trail, which is over by the dog park. And they implemented their annual tree pruning and inventory of trees, which will continue into 2022. Engineering, they developed their infrastructure revitalization program to have a plan for roadways, sidewalks, and curbing. So this is all our surface infrastructure. It was formerly our local improvements. Within Public Works, they resurfaced Eagle Road. They completed the Riverfront Road, which is the road leading to the Sioux Line Museum and near Burger King. They repaired the Credit Union Spark Center sidewalk. There was a new traffic control replacement at 2nd Avenue and Souris. And they continued their annual replacement of sidewalk catch basins, storm sewers, curbing, pedestrian accessible ramps, hydrant valve replacement, and sidewalk trip hazard repairs. Within fleet, they had quite a few purchases. The pothole patch truck is on order. We still haven't received it, but it is on order. They received a new Zamboni, which is at Crescent Point Place and Tom Zandy. It's used there, and the old one is now at the outdoor rink. They purchased 3 new mowers, two half-ton trucks, 2 trailers, a concrete breaker out at the landfill, and a tool cat and gator for the Credit Union Spark Center. Utilities, and this includes the water treatment plant. So they started the design, the engineering design for the lift station 3 rebuild. And you'll see in the 2022 budget that the rebuild is going to take place. And they had quite a few upgrades to the First Avenue pump station. Within the landfill, they did get a new loader that was not in budget, but it was covered through insurance because it was lost in a fire. And they implemented their annual concrete crushing program. So they're using their concrete breaker to do that. So how is the city of Weyburn funded? So it's made up of property taxes, reserve funding, fees and charges on services, grant funding and investment income, and other funds like if we sell a vehicle or something like that. So the fees and charges, that does include in here our utilities. So this year we are estimating to receive 11.8 million in property taxes. So that makes up 38.87% of our funding. Reserve funding, we're looking to bring in $7 million from our reserves. Fees and charges are just under 7 million. Grant funding is just over 4 million, and our investment income and other income is just over $500,000. So our total funding is $30,487,450. So within operating and our capital budget, so the operating budget, and this does not include our utilities and like internal transfers that we would have within the operating. This is the basic operations of the city. Our budget is just under 20 million. Our utilities, our water treatment plant and landfill budget, these budgets are self-sustaining, so they fund themselves through their user fees or through grants. So that's just under 5 million. Our capital budget for general operations is just over $1 million, and our utilities capital is just under 5 million. So our total budget is just under $30.5 million. Transfers to reserves, so we're budgeting to transfer into our reserves just over $1 million. We're budgeting to transfer out of reserves to cover some of our expenditures, which is primarily for capital expenditures. It's just over 7 million. So a breakdown of just our operating budget, which pertains to our administration, government, and finance, police, fire, leisure, engineering, planning, public works, and parks. There's a chart there that shows what percentage of our operating budget goes towards each of these. So that is what would be covered through property tax and grants. And there is some funding, some fees that they do bring in. So like police would have fees that they would collect. Parks or leisure would have some fees within their building. So like the Credit Union Spark Center, any fees that they collect, or the leisure center has some fees that come in as well. So throughout the departments, so the departmental budget change is administration has actually decreased by 7.5%, and that's primarily due to some funding that isn't coming in. And we also had a decrease in some of the expenditures. So in the past, we had an internal loan that we were paying up. That was $300,000. That was for the CCC Center. That expired last year, so that was the final year for that. So that's primarily why the admin budget's decreased. Police has budgeted a 5.5% increase. Fire has budgeted an 8.5% increase. Leisure's at 13.9%. Engineering's at 10%. Planning has decreased by 0.3%. Public Works has increased by 5%. Parks has increased by 3.6%. And overall, it's a 4.58% increase on our budget. So there's a breakdown here of what the budgeted revenues and expenses are. This budget includes these numbers. They include the internal transfers that would go to other funds or to, say, utilities or to fleet to pay for those expenses. So facilities, fleet, infrastructure revitalization, utilities, water treatment plant, and landfill, these are all self-sustaining funds. So they all are budgeted. They have to have revenues to cover their expenses. So they do not have any impact on the taxes coming in. So all of their revenue would either come from fees or a transfer from the operating, or grants or reserve funding to cover their expenses. So facilities did see a decrease of 51%. That's primarily, they had some big repairs and maintenance last year that they were doing, and this year they're not having as many. Fleets decreased by 9.1. The infrastructure revitalization, this is the new program that's been put in place, so that's budgeted to be $700,000. Utilities has increased by 1.7. Water treatment plant has increased by 3.8, and the landfill has actually decreased by 31.2, and that's primarily due to some capital that was done last year, and they're not budgeted to do as much this year. So the net operating budget, so this is the balance of funds that is not funded by the department's own revenue. So this does not include the utilities and the capital budgets. So this is what's funded through tax revenue and through the government grants that we receive. And it's government grants that wouldn't be specific. So we take our total operating budget, which this year is 22.85, and take out any conditional grants. So those would be grants that are specific to an operation. Take out the fees, the interest and other revenue that we are budgeting to receive, and any transfers to other departments, and then anything coming from reserves. And that gets us down to, we need to bring in 13.9 million from taxes and through our unconditional grants. So on the fee breakdown, it showed that we have unconditional grants that are sorry, let me find it. I had it written down. It's just over 2 million. So that makes our taxes to come in 11.9. Okay, so what is made up of this budget? So our highlights for the budget are through administration. It's to continue to provide, we're continuing to provide funding to the Humane Society for their animal control and their facility operations. There's a continuation of the Weyburn Builds program, implement the commercial incentive program. Through police, they are transitioning from a 40 caliber Glock gun that are 25 years old to a 9mm Glock. So they've put that into their budget, and they've just recently welcomed a new canine into their unit. So that's exciting for them. Fire, they have budgeted to increase some fire protection clothing, as theirs has been identified as being quite outdated. Capital purchase budgets, their air compressor upgrade, and the extrication equipment that they typically buy each year. Within leisure, so this is our first full year with the Credit Union Spark Center operations, so it's very exciting. We're looking to hopefully have some revenue come in, as well as not always have expenditures on that building. So they are also providing funding to the Southeast Regional Library, and they also continue to provide funding through the Sask lotteries. So they provide about $75,000 to local organizations that they receive through the lottery program. Within facilities, there's a replacement of the rooftop and air handling equipment at the Weyburn Leisure Center, the mechanical room upgrades at the Weyburn Leisure Center as well. So parks, they are looking to resurface some of the walking paths and to continue with their urban forest maintenance program. So that's their annual tree pruning and inventory program. Engineering is implementing their infrastructure revitalization program. So that's our surface upgrades, and that is at a price of $700,000. They are also updating the airport runway and taxiway for crack repairs. Within Public Works, they are looking to put a new traffic controller at First Avenue and Government Road. So they'll also continue with their annual program of the catch basins, the storm sewers, curbing, hydrant replacements, trip hazard repairs. They are also going to replace asphalt cap sidewalks on Sass Drive, replace the asphalt, cap sidewalks, Ash Drive, downtown parking lots, and the back alleys through our, it should say our infrastructure revitalization program. Fleet, they have budgeted to purchase 5 half-ton trucks, a maintenance truck, a front-end loader, and a tool cap for the public works. And within utilities, including the water treatment plant, they have the water main replacement on 12th Street, the lift station rebuild, which we had the redesign for done in 2021. They're going to implement the CO2 process at the water treatment plant, which is looking to reduce the alum dosage, and implement the ammonia feed system at the water treatment plant. The landfill, their big capital expenditure is going to be relocating a power line. So I guess how does it affect taxes? So for residents and condo owners, the base tax calculation consists of the 3 essential services: police services, fire services, and snow removal and street sanding. So after we've calculated out the cost of each of those, police is to increase 5.5%, fires 8.5%, and the snow removal and street sanding has been proposed to decrease by 2.6%. The reason for the decrease is we usually take it based on a 5-year average, and in the past we haven't had a whole lot of snow. Maybe this year it's not going to be the case. Maybe we should have budgeted an increase, but anyway, it's budgeted to decrease. So when we calculate it out, it ends up that it'll be a $40 increase in the base tax. So the base tax is budgeted to increase to $710 per household dwelling. So when someone asks where their tax dollars spent, so on a $250 taxable assessment, $1,031 would come from your municipal mill rate tax, and $710 would come from your base tax. So when we take the percentages of how that would calculate out, admin and finance would make up $182, leisure and facilities would be $267, engineering would be $28, planning and development $27, public works $288, parks $136, and that would be on your taxable assessment. So, and then the base tax, the police services would be $489, the fire would be $163, and the street snow and sanding is $58. So another question we sometimes get, I guess, is what are our services for your tax dollars? So as discussed, so the police, fire, and then sand and snow removal, that's throughout the base. So those were previously calculated. But other points to highlight, so Crescent Point Place and Sports Arena, that costs the average person about $130 per year. So that works about just under $11 a month. Park maintenance, that's about $110 a year. The Credit Union Spark Center will cost the average person $80 a year. Weyburn Leisure Center, $59. The airport, $25. The library and the Southeast Library, $19. Refuse collection, $10. Street repairs and sidewalk repairs, just under $10. And the tree pruning and inventory, $7. So in conclusion of all that, we have budgeted to have an increase in our general operating budget of $425,760. That works out to 4.58% increase. That does include, it includes the base tax. This includes capital purchases and projects that total $5.915 million. So this balances our budget. Our goal is to balance the budget to provide growth and sustainability today and into the future, to provide a high level of service to our City of Weyburn ratepayers, to reduce our infrastructure gap, and to continue to be comparable and competitive with other cities in Saskatchewan. Any questions?
Do you have a motion to accept the budget?
Your worship, I move that the city of Weyburn 2022 operating budget with a 4.58% increase be accepted as presented.
I'll second that, your worship.
Questions? Questions? Mr. Mickle?
Oh, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Good.
Thanks for all your work, Laura.
Mr. Janke?
Really quick, this might be more of a question for engineering than for finance, but in terms of the water treatment, is that money being spent to improve the safety or the quality, like the taste of the water, or is it both?
Both the improvement projects within the water treatment plant are to actually deal with the organics that we bring in. So a lot of it is actually about meeting our THM and HAA compliance levels. So periodically, when we have really high organics, we don't meet those levels according to the Water Security Agency. So these projects will actually bring us in line to ensure we're in compliance all year round, because we do periodically exceed those limits, as well as it'll help improve the quality. I'm not going to make a promise on taste or smell at this point.
That's excellent, thank you.
Go ahead.
Thanks, your worship. Laura, thanks so much for your work. This is a hard job, so I would appreciate, I want everybody to appreciate the work that you do putting into this. I would look at this budget, and I would say to all of the department heads in the room, council put the screws to everybody this year, again, to pinch every penny they could find, because it's always tough to increase taxes, but last year and this year, I would argue, harder than any time in my recent memory. So Laura, if my math is correct, which it generally is not, what this would equal for somebody who's paying about $2,500 a year in taxes currently, this is going to ask them for about another $114 a year. Is my math somewhere as close on that?
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. So that's, although it's enough, I suppose it's the cost of doing business. Things get more expensive. Fuel's $1.30 something a liter, so these things cost money. I look down, I particularly enjoy the last page of your report, where it breaks down. This isn't per person what it costs for everything. This is per household what it costs for everything. I think it's important to notice that most of us pay more for Netflix every month than we pay for fire services. I have no idea what Netflix costs, but it's probably around 14 bucks a month, I'm thinking. So although these numbers, sometimes we struggle with them, the cost of a safe community through our police service is $40 a month. Anybody that's got a motorcycle is paying more than that to put a license plate on it every month. So although they're big numbers, we got to have them, so it's pretty easy to take. So I would appreciate everybody's hard work. I just want to convey that. All of our departments are very efficient, and they do a good job. So thank you for that. I'll be supporting this 100%.
Mr. Van Betju?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to kind of echo what Councillor Richards had said, and I also want to comment that if his math was correct, somebody must have done it for him. Because
Yes.
But anyways, yeah, you know, everybody looks at this budget, we look at it, and it's been a 3-4 month process that we go through this, and I think what I keep getting told is, you know, our revenues are down, cut expenses, and I think everybody has cut expenses to the minimum that we can cut with still maintaining services in our city. As everything keeps going up, we have wages go up, gas goes up, everything goes up. And to compensate for that, we have to make cuts in other areas or become much more efficient. And I think all departments have done that, and I thank them for that. And I accept the citizens of Weyburn. It's hard to swallow an increase of any sort because times are fairly tough, but as again, we just have to find the money, we all do, and I think it's a minimal increase, and I think we all want our streets cleaned and our snow removed and our garbage picked up, and this is the cost of business. And so anyways, I want to thank administration for putting together what I feel is a good budget.
Mr. Mickle?
Thank you, Worship. Again, thank you very much, Laura, for the in-depth presentation. I want to make a couple comments. Anytime you see a tax increase, you say, wow, that's too much. But as council has explained and administration has, everything is point blankly there. The two things that come to mind to me is our infrastructure plan, and I thank engineering for all the effort they put into this. There's many questions asked over the years, how come you can do this and you don't fix your roads? Excuse me. That attempt is now in this budget, and I thank them very much for that. That is going to be a magnificent improvement in the city of Weyburn. You put the plan together, now we have to support you and get some funds to make it work. The next thing is the Credit Union Spark Center. I'm going to say it again, wow, what a facility for the citizens of this community, not only Weyburn, but the surrounding area. Its future is, it's just unbelievable what goes on over there. And again, that's presented in the budget as well. And yeah, things cost money, but this is a progressive community and well-shaped. And thanks to our administration, our city manager, and his administration team for the excellent work you've done, especially in engineering. I want to pat you on the back, because you people that have come in the last couple of years, and I'm going to say this quite honestly, you're local people, you know what's going on here, and I thank you for your work. Sometimes you get beat up about it, but basically it's not 98% you're going to get a pat on the back. So thanks again for very much.
Other comments? Just the one comment that I'll make is that just to make sure that the citizens understand what we're in Weyburn, that it was reading in some of the past materials from SUMA that they put out. 1980, we were paying 20%. We only had to, 20% was all that the city had to put in on this. Everything else is given grants. We have been exceedingly, every city has been exceedingly cut back on how much grants, so that we are now sitting at what Laura has said, 38.87% is what our taxes have to pay. It's simply because of our provincial government's cutting back on grants and a lot of other grants. So it is the downloading of the government, and there's the things we are trying. Again, our administration, our people are trying to maintain the level of service that we have grown to expect, and we are still living in probably better times than we've ever have been with our water, our sewer, our roads, our power, and so we are striving to maintain and go forward with this. Again, we have everyone here. We thank you for your service and what you have done to set this budget for this year. We appreciate, greatly appreciate that. Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. So then now we'll move forward with a lot of our requests for proposals and such, and the budget will move forward, and we'll start into our 2022 development of what's plans. You'll start seeing plans move forward. The next item on there, inquiries and announcements. Anything, Mr. Richards?
Thanks, Your Worship. Just because we're talking about Youth Council tonight a little bit, I would like to send a congratulations to our one of our former youth mayors, Megan Ebel, who won the Saskatchewan Weekly Newspaper Association Sask Power Junior Citizen of the Year Award. So huge kudos to her, and I would say to the folks filling in her shoes behind, thank you for your hard work as well. This youth council is a pretty cool thing. I can't wait till they take this budget apart at the end of the week, because they're next on the list. Thank you, and congratulations, Megan.
Mr. Crow, to you, the opening of the arts part of the Spark Center, if you would just make a note on that one, please.
Sure. So on this past Friday night, we held our grand opening for the Weyburn Art Gallery, which is housed within the Credit Union Spark Center. It was a great little event. Lots of people came and attended. So we have finally been able to open up that space. It's been a little bit delayed due to a few issues, but we're happy to have that space open to the public. And I'll just add, that is the one location within the Credit Union Spark Center that will always be free for the public to access. So we invite people to come on down and check it out.
And right now they have the People's Choice Awards going on till March, beginning of March, I believe. Mid-March.
Yeah, so the James Weir People's Choice exhibit is on right now. I can't think off the top of my head when the voting ends, but I believe it is
But
around
we'd ask everyone to go down, view the art of local artists, and make the choice.
Councilor Van Betje, maybe I should put some of my art or my math in there as artwork, eh? It's probably just about.
Any other announcements that are to be made? Mr. Mickle?
One more, and I can share this with Andrew, because I'm going to ask him the question. Andrew, what's the talk around town about the north side of the rink? We're putting some kind of coconut board?
Yeah, so the city has partnered with the Weyburn Egg Society and the local curling club to install an outdoor croquet curl activity outside of the northeast side of the Credit Union Spark Center. So if you've ever played Crokinole, the board game, it's much like that. So we have some junior curling rocks, and it's just stop in and give it a throw and play a game. Very laid back, just drop in and try it out for free. I don't think the ice is quite in yet. The extreme cold was good, but also people can only handle so much cold weather. So that will be opening shortly, and there will be something that goes out through the media with that as well.
Thanks, Andrew.
If there's, and that is it. There's no notice of motions. Next council meeting, Danette?
The next council meeting will be January 24th at 6 p.m.
And with that, we will again, Chief Lee, we welcome you to our city on there, or Deputy Chief Lee on there, and also Chief Blunden. We welcome our new K9 to. What is her name? Oakley. So that is, and people will see her around the city. So with that, we adjourn the meeting. Thank you.